Hey folks, welcome back. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and this is how to make a Lego music video. Or, at the very least, this is how I made a Lego music video. So here's a little backstory. Emmett from MK Ultras reached out to me now over a year ago with a song that I thought was really cool, this Chrome Crusher punk rock tune. There's something about punk rock music and rock raiders that just, chocolate and peanut butter. They just go together so well. Anyways, one of the ideas he floated to me was this idea of a music video, a Lego stop motion animation. And to be honest, I was pretty hesitant at first. I knew what kind of time commitment something like this would be, and he asked me for a number, a ballpark, and I kind of sat down and kind of crunched some of the details, and I gave him a number that I kind of thought would turn him off, send him packing, but not that I was trying to do that. I wasn't trying to scare him off or anything like that, but I was just trying to be realistic with what kind of time commitment this would be. Also, being in a few bands myself, I know all too well how tight money can be sometimes, so I figured that the numbers I was sending his way would be just untenable. To my shock, honestly, he came back after a little while and said, no, me and the mates, we talked, and we're really into it. If you'll do it for that price, we would like to hire you. And so I was hired. This is an R.R. Slugger commission. So first off, I've got to thank Emmett and the rest of MK Ultras for, doing all of this. And I think we all need to thank them because they really allowed me to invest time and energy into this to create some really great art through collaboration, I must say, because I don't think I would have agreed to it if I didn't jive with the music the way that I did. I really dig the song. No pun intended there. Yeah, there's just something so authentic about that punk rock energy when it meets rock raiders. The sonic aesthetic just matches the visual aesthetic perfectly. So before I dove into the project, I kind of had to assess my timeline, see where I could fit it in. They had about a year until the album release, which was basically perfect for me because I had the Summer of Slug coming up. There's no way I was going to get it done before then. I knew this was going to be a multi-month sort of affair. It was going to take about a month of pre-production, like building the sets and everything like that, and then approximately, 3 months-ish, to shoot the whole thing. At first, I was really torn on what FPS to animate at. I had done previously all my animation at 18 frames per second, so that's what I was used to. But I kind of figured, for high energy, I might need to do 24 frames per second. And this is a detail I didn't share on my 5 years of Slugger video, but when I made the Fabuland video, that Summer of Slug, I intentionally was using it as a test vehicle for this project. The Fabuland video is animated at 24 frames per second, and I really wanted that to be the test bed for this idea. After roughly crunching the numbers for a 3-minute song, Chrome Crusher, I figured if I did it at 18 frames per second, I would need about 3,000 photos. And if I did it at 24 frames per second, I would need over 4,000 photos. So it was a not insignificant difference, is what I want to point out here. So this was a big decision, and I had to make it right up front. In the end, I actually went with 18 frames per second for a couple of reasons. One, because I felt that animating at 24 didn't really improve, the fluidity of things all that much. In fact, it kind of made some things appear a little bit more jumpy. My inexperience at animating at 24 was, partially there. But then the other thing too is that I had a bunch of Rock Raiders animations I'd done previously, and some of those shots I felt would make for fantastic B-roll in a music video about the Chrome Crusher, and I'd already animated those at 18 frames per second, so, why not use them? That's ultimately what I went with, and the big deciding factor for me was that I needed to make sure the video footage that I wanted, because I knew I had in my head, I had a few video clips I wanted to get. I wanted the video footage to look good at 18 frames per second too, so I did a couple of test shoots with that in mind, and the results were promising, so it was thumbs up all the way. With that in mind, I officially entered pre-production. So obviously one of the first things you have to do when trying to recreate a band in LEGO form is recreate the band members. Lucky for me, the members of MK Ultras all had very distinct, consistent styles to their clothing, to the way that they acted on stage. I basically just, stalked them on Instagram for a little bit, looking at photos of the band, and then tried to recreate them using retro LEGO pieces. Emmett, the lead singer of the band, was very helpful in this as well too, as we bounced ideas off of each other, and we came up with a full lineup. Starting with our lead singer, we originally were going to go with an Octan shirt, but I had this nagging suspicion that a true punk rocker wouldn't wear LEGO's, Monopoly company on their shirt, unless it was done ironically, I suppose. So I wasn't quite happy with that. I ended up stumbling across an old torso. I have no idea where this one comes from, honestly, but it has the colors of the MK Ultras logo with the stripes on it. I don't know what the S stands for, but, whatever. It seemed to work quite well. It was like, vintage looking, but not too common, I suppose. It's got a uniquity to it that I quite like. I was a little hesitant about using black legs on this minifigure because I was afraid that the legs would get lost in some of the shots. I knew some of these shots were going to be a little bit darker or against black backing, either the floor or the checkerboard pattern, whatever. So I was a little scared of that. But you know what? The singer, he just wears black jeans, man. I don't know what to tell you. So kind of had to go with that. And I think it worked out well. We also contemplated leather gloves because he sometimes wears them, but again, you just kind of fear losing the hands, right? Because when the hands are darker, they just won't jump out as much, and it'll blend in with the microphone. You lose a little bit of the expressiveness of the minifigure, I think. So we went without any gloves. For the guitarist, we found the perfect head pretty much straight away and built the rest of the figure out from there. The torso print was one that was requested, and I was lucky enough to have one in my collection, which I happily pilfered from its original owner. LEGO instruments are kind of a tough thing to get right, so I decided to go the route of pre-molded guitars. I didn't want to do the, stick with clips, kind of make a guitar facsimile sort of thing. Usually those just result in being too oversized and they don't really look like guitars. So I kind of went the route of, okay, hopefully they have the guitars in the right colors. And fortunately, they did. It looks to me like the guitarist plays a Jaguar, and the Fender Strat sort of look of the LEGO piece is pretty close. And luckily I had one in blue, so it worked out. When we move over to the bass player, we find someone who just walks around dressed like a Lego figure. I don't mean that disparagingly, it's a good look, and it was incredibly easy to come up with which pieces to use for the bass player. I don't think we could have found something more perfect than this. It's just so good. And fortunately for us, the bass player plays a precision bass, and the red sort of strat-shaped Lego brick fits the role there as well. So that's 2 for 2. Very nice. On to the drummer, and long hair is, the way to go here. I thought he looked pretty stoic in a lot of the photos I saw, so I thought the Luke Skywalker face would be good to use there. I think the torso was another one that Emmett had suggested, and I definitely had this one in my collection. But But because I wanted like everything to look as good as it could, I used the best quality torso I had of this particular one, and it's from the Lego Studios line, the werewolf switcheroo guy. So this is the one he's wearing before he becomes a werewolf. And this was actually from a brand new figure that had, never really been played with before. And if I could do it all over again, I think I would have used a well-loved torso, because I hated animating the drummer in this video. Oh, I suffered anytime I had to do that. The arms were so stiff, so much stiffer than the other bandmates, so it made it a real chore to animate those arms moving up and down all the time. You'd grip the sticks to try to move the arms because you don't want to bump into the drum kit because the drum kit's so fragile. I really seriously considered gluing the sticks into the hands of the minifigure just to make my life easier. So anyways, let's talk about the kit, because I'm so proud of this. The drummer has a really iconic white and black striped drum kit, and I wanted to capture that as best as I could in Lego form. So I took stock of the real thing and tried my best to replicate it in Lego form. Looks like the drummer's working with one kick drum, a rack tom, a floor tom, snare drum off on the side there. We've got a hi-hat and then a couple of cymbals on either side, as well as one mounted from the kick drum itself. I tried to get as much of that in there as I could. The kick drum size was really important to get, and the best piece to do that with is kind of this new barrel element. It's like a 3x3 cylinder, because 4x4 is too big and 2x2 is too small, so 3x3 cylinder seemed to be the best fit there. I think I took that from Jedi Bob's Starfighter. I think that's where I pulled it from. And then the tile that's on the front of it as well too. I ended up buying the space car gift with purchase, and I took the tile from the base. There's like some moon terrain or something you build. I didn't build any of that. I just pilfered what I needed and went about my day. So yeah, did that. Built up the toms and the racks and everything, just kind of hanging off the kit. It's pretty fragile, it's pretty flimsy. You wouldn't see this sort of building technique used in a real Lego set, but that's okay. The cymbals are the shields from the Scorpion Palace. I thought that was kind of fun. And I took the hi-hat cymbals, the smaller dishes, from the Golden Dingus from Orient Expedition. So yeah, definitely a couple of elements here that are on loan from the British Museum of History. I continued the checkerboard motif onto the platform that the drum kit was built upon, and I think this really helps sell the striped black and white look without actually having to put electrical tape stripes on the kit, which I originally thought I might have to do. I'm glad I didn't have to in the end. I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I also constructed a second platform for the drum kit to rest upon, and that one was more Rock Raiders themed, so I changed between them throughout the video depending on the setting. So yeah, there's the band. I did have to commit one act of heresy while preparing for this music video. There are some shots where the guitarist needs to sing through a microphone on a microphone stand. However, Lego doesn't produce bar sizes the correct length for this to look convincing in these shots, so I had to take a Lego bar and chop it down to height. Yeah. Now, in my defense, it was a bar piece that was actually already broken, so I wasn't really breaking it anymore. It's just trying to make use of a piece that was no longer in pristine condition, let's say. With the band members and their accessories in place, I went about creating some of the backdrops and other set dressing I would need for the video, all of which I think I'll talk about as it comes up, because now I want to go through shot by shot and analyze everything I did and kind of talk about how I did it. Alright, first shot of the video, and it's not even stop motion. No, this is one of the video clips that I knew I would need for this project. I just wanted the Chrome Crusher to come smashing through the wall at the start of the video. In addition, I also wanted to include a nod to the rock monster playing the electric guitar in that old Rock Raiders commercial. It's so perfect for this video, like what a perfect moment to put in it. Basically, in order to make this work, I had to construct a little mini table and lamp. The television set contains a ton of very illegal building techniques. Don't look too closely at that one. But it all just needed to rest there. Everything had to be able to be knocked down in a dramatic fashion. So I built a frame out of teal pieces. The outer walls are actually the slope bricks from Rock Raiders, like from the HQ set and the Loader Dozer, just stacked on top of each other with their backs kind of facing inwards. I have a lot of them, so I kind of decided to use those for that. And then you can obviously see the rear wall is made up mostly of 2x4 bricks with 2x4 plates on top of them. There are some 2x2 variations in there too, just to add a little bit of differentiation. Once I had it all together, I hit record and smashed a Chrome Crusher through the back of it. And would you believe that what you see in the video is the first and only take I did of this shot? I just set it up once and kind of said, well, let's see what happens, smashed the two together. And immediately I just went downstairs and plugged it into the computer and watched it back. And I was like, yeah, you know what? That looks great. I don't think I can do that any better. So let's move on. So next up, we get some crash zooms on some of the important features of the Chrome Crusher. This is repeated 8 times, though I think I filmed 10 different variations and then just picked my favorite of the top 8, I suppose. Not too much to say here, although I do find the exposure kind of changing a little bit distracting. I couldn't really find a way to lock that down any better than what we see here, so yeah, what you see is what you get. Now, eagle-eyed viewers will recognize this shot from a previous Slugger video, this building the Chrome Crusher, with Zuko actually up there. My cat just kind of hopped up and decided to sit with me as I filmed it. I didn't intend for them to be in the shot, but, there they are. I kind of thought it was cute, so I left it in. I filmed this shot specifically for the music video, but in the lead up to its release, I found another opportunity to use it in a different Slugger video. So I actually put it in the other Slugger video without any context or whatever. So it kind of works, serves two purposes. And you know me, if you've watched my channel a lot, I'm very efficient with the shots that I create, the photography that I use. I try to use it a lot. And finally, after a few more crash zooms and 13 seconds, we're at the very first stop motion animation of the video. This clip has a lot of camera movement that I did in post-production, mostly because I feel like I animated Emmett running a little too quickly here. I wanted it to have a frantic energy to it, but yeah, he just looks like he's on turbo mode or something like that compared to the rest of the band. So I tried to cover that up a little bit by adding in some artificial camera movement. There are probably going to be more shots like this that I talk about in the video where I tried my best setting things up ahead of time, and then I animated it, and then, I went back to the computer to see how it turned out. And sometimes I really liked what I saw, and sometimes I didn't like it as much. So there are times when you have to, art through adversity. You got to try to overcome. It's not like you're going to go back and reshoot the whole thing. It took you forever to do it the first time, and there's no guarantee that it's going to be any better the second time. So no, you just try to work around it is the idea. Yeah, get resourceful. Use your tools to achieve what you want to see from it. I think this was also the very first shot I animated for the video. A lot of it was actually done sequentially, believe it or not. Typically with film projects, you want economy of setup and whatnot, But the payment structure we kind of set up here was that we were going to do it through milestones. I would turn in the first 45 seconds to see if the band was happy with that, receive some of the payment then the next 45 seconds, and so on from there, right? And this allowed us to kind of check in with each other. It wasn't just like, oh, here's the whole video, I did it, and the band coming back and saying, no, this isn't at all what we wanted. So it was done in a way so that it protected us both. Because then even if I totally flaked out on them, they would at least have segments that they had paid for, and they didn't pay for the whole thing up front. You know what I mean? Like, we wanted some sort of arrangement that would work best for both parties. You know, we're all musicians here in this little arrangement, and musicians can sometimes just be the worst. It's just how it is. I'll probably say this again at the end, but if I forget to, MK Ultras were just a joy to work with. Like, what an unbelievably great client they were. They let me have carte blanche with the video. Besides just like, here's what, the figures should look like. This is what the bandmates, should more or less look like. They said, yeah, go nuts, get creative. Like, we love what we're seeing here. Just keep doing it. And that was so awesome of them. I think had I been working with a band that was more protective of like, no, it needs to be like this, or could you change the angle of this a little bit? This whole project could have been a nightmare. So my hat's off to them for being such kind and gracious people to work with. And they didn't pay me to say that. Anyways, moving on, there's a really cool transition here, getting from the one shot to the next shot, and this shot of the singer against the blue backdrop is one of my favorites from the video, because it really does look like he's singing the words Chrome Crusher, Chrome Crusher, Chrome Crusher, and then pulls the mic away at the right time. I counted out the frames ahead of time before shooting it to make sure I was kind of in the ballpark. There's a lot of math that goes into making a stop motion Lego animation like this, and you're just constantly counting frames as you're shooting. In this shot, we get whip pans from bandmate to bandmate, and this is done by actually taking some photos while the camera is in motion. Now, the camera isn't actually like moving around, it's on a tripod, right? But you can rotate it on the tripod, and if you take some of those interstitial shots, a little out of focus, a little bit, with that motion blur kind of going on, it really animates into just an incredible effect. Like, it really does look like whip, 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 you're just moving around super fast. It's how you can retain a ton of energy. Or rather, how you can generate a ton of energy. Yeah, I think it's a super cool shot, and I get to show off one of these big resin-printed energy crystals that was gifted to me as well. It's cool. It's cool to see it. This next shot is one of the longest in the video, one of the longest continuous stop-motion animations. Emmett singing, there's the heart in the foreground, the Chrome Crusher comes out of the background, and then as the camera moves, it drives into the camera, and Emmett and the heart are gone by the time the camera returns to its original spot. That would be very tough to do if it was a video clip, but in stop-motion animation, it's real easy. Emmett standing on top of the boulder while Bandit is, taking a jackhammer to it. That was a tough shot. This was a tough one because I really wanted the sparks and the bits of rock to come flying out, and I had to animate that at the same time as animating the singer singing the words of the song, right? It was tricky. Then we get to one of my favorite creations for this video, the supersized Chrome Crusher engine with the pistons pumping up and down. I had this shot in my head, and it turned out so well. I'm really proud of that mock, and the pistons were actually kind of tough to do. The way that I engineered it is that I actually made that entire top layer a big, what is that? It's a 4x8 black plate that could lift off of the engine block and could be swapped with a different 4x8 black plate with a different set of pistons in the alternate configuration. So when one was up, the other one would be down, that sort of thing. And I would, I think it was 3 or 6 frames, something like that, I would take the entire plate off and then swap it with the other plate. That way I didn't have to monkey around with the individual pistons. However, that forethought was great and all, but it came with a price, and the price is that those light gray dishes are kind of rare. Like I don't have a ton of them. I actually had to steal a bunch from my Sop with Camel model that I built as a kid. So I had to rip those out of the radial engine and stick them on the Chrome Crusher engine for a little bit. So that's kind of neat. Anyways, the shot is thunderous. It has all the energy I wanted it to have. And now I've got a giant supersized Chrome Crusher engine, which I don't plan on taking apart anytime soon. This next shot is interstitial B-roll that was originally created for the Rock Raiders retrospective series on my channel. It kind of just serves to fill the gap here and show off the Chrome Crusher. It gets Sparks in the video as well too. I wanted to see Sparks at some point. The lack of the headlight or the lamp piece on the laser kind of bugs me. I'd never noticed that before until I started making this music video, but it's kind of missing from that shot, which is too bad, but it serves its purpose well. This shot with the band singing around Rock Raiders HQ, this was a tough one to pull off, but I think the results really speak for themselves. We've got the super teleport in the foreground because I think one of the videos I was working on during this time was the how to build the super teleport video. So it was kind of just, it was hanging around, so I was like, hey, why don't we use this? Just put it in the video. Something else we see for the first time in this shot is the guitar and bass amplifiers I made for the band. I didn't talk about these earlier, but they basically are like Rock Raiders-ified instrument amps. I thought that was kind of fun, they look like they fit in this world. We also see the drum kit on that Rock Raiders riser I was talking about earlier too. Now, this quick descent into the underground, that was a lot of fun and kind of tricky to pull off. Basically what you do is, you're zooming the camera in as you're pulling it down closer and closer into the foreground, and eventually the entire field of view is obscured by rocks, like Lego bricks of some kind. Then, while that's happening, you remove everything that was previously there behind the facade that you've created, and you replace it with the underground scene. After that, a quick zoom out and lock the camera down, and here you go. Or so you'd think. In fact, this one in the underground here is the first of actually many that are filmed in reverse. This is a stop motion trick that I picked up years ago, and I'm so happy I did. It's served me so well over the years. Basically, if you want the camera to end up in a certain location, just start from that location and film everything in reverse. For stop motion, it's all the same. It doesn't matter if the motion was forward or if it was backward. You just reverse the footage and it looks just fine. So yeah, as I made this, Docs was driving backwards. Flip it around and you can't even tell the difference. It's really great. So if you're an aspiring Lego stop motion animator or a stop motion animator of any kind, start getting into the habit of reversing your footage, shooting things in reverse. Sometimes though, not all the time. It works for some things, but not so well for others. Just use it as a tool. And in this segment, we get a quick flash of the drummer hitting a bunch of drums. This one wasn't so bad to set up, just basically multiple angles and quick, a dozen or so photos of each angle here. And then I just synced it up as best as I could in post-production. There really isn't much noteworthy about this next shot, just a simple scene with the singer and bassist playing together. I added a little bit of artificial camera movement in post-production, but I actually think one of the coolest details in here is hidden in the background. It's that sort of silo building that's sitting next to the support station. That mock is something that I created years and years ago. There's a pair of them. And they appear occasionally in the Rock Raiders retrospective series, but I dug them out of storage and put them in the music video here, just kind of as a background detail. I think that's kind of neat. Here's just a quick behind the scenes shot of the scene that I set up here, and I think it really goes to show just how much time and effort and care is required in setting up a scene like this, because you need to set up that background so that you're not getting any bleed on either side of the wall or whatever else that's going on behind you. And even though the shot itself is like really tight in on the singer and the bassist, you still have to go through, all the legwork of getting everything else set up first. So, it's easy to forget, I think. And honestly, I kind of forget too when I watch the video, how much time some of these scenes took. After that, we get some B-roll footage, and this one has some pretty fun movement that's actually created in camera, not done in post-production. So that's pretty cool. This scene of Emmett singing in the cockpit of the Chrome Crusher, this one was kind of tough to animate because you had to reach your fingers in through the through the roll cage element to move things around. You can see I bump the steering wheel from time to time. There's little movements here or there, but it's serviceable for what it needed to be, I think, in the moment. You can see the rock face moving in the background there, and that was done by having those brick-built facades, just kind of shuffling them along in the background as the video went on. Obviously, the Chrome Crusher itself isn't moving. Obviously, the camera isn't mounted to the Chrome Crusher, but I wanted it to kind of look like it was, so that's how I achieved that effect. I then interspliced it with more B-roll footage, this shot of the Chrome Crusher driving up and drilling the rock face there. That's actually something I animated years ago, but I tried to make it continuous and seamless by putting it all together. The one thing I got wrong, though, is that the drill is on the opposite side compared to the previous shot, so if you're tracking continuity, there's an error. This next shot here might be the most creative one in the video. It's certainly one that I'm really proud of from this project. Having the singer spin around while hanging onto the Chrome Crusher laser, while also making the camera look like it was mounted to the laser and following this movement the whole time, was an interesting challenge to kind of overcome, and I think my solution might surprise you a bit, so let's take a look at it. When we zoom out, we can see that what I did is I created a Chrome Crusher facade. I basically took the back end of the Chrome Crusher and recreated it out of other bulk pieces from my collection, and I mounted a ratcheting turntable onto the bottom of it and attached that to a base plate so that I had a foundation. The ratchet's really important though because it allows me to move incrementally, and that incremental movement is what allows it to feel like the camera is spinning in a uniform motion. I then made the rock walls rotate along the ground as well too. I just kind of pushed them, roughly about the same amount every single frame, and then replaced them as they were gonna fall off the table, So it's kind of like a little concoction of moving parts here. I also considered mounting the laser itself to a ratcheting turntable, because in the original Chrome Crusher set, it's on a turntable that doesn't ratchet, a free moving turntable, right? And later Lego made turntables that could ratchet. So I considered doing that, but I was afraid that it would make the final product look like it was too fake, like too static. I feared it would make it too obvious that it was a middle facade that was rotating and the laser itself wasn't moving. So I stuck with the free spinning turntable to give it kind of like a waving in the wind almost sort of effect, like it's spinning, but maybe the camera's not focusing 100% on it as it's going. I like the result, but I wish I could have compared it to the other result without having to have made it, like I don't want to go back and like redo all this. This took forever. So it was kind of, I just had to pick which one I thought would probably look best. And so I made this choice. Maybe the other one would have looked better, but I still like the final product here. The next shot we have here is more B-roll from the Rock Raiders retrospective. This one's from, I think, very specifically the Chrome Crusher episode, I would imagine. And it's mostly pretty usable here, but there's kind of like an awkwardness to just like hanging on the shot here at the end, especially in the original, the original photography of it, the raw footage, I should say. It's kind of awkward. So I came up with a way to better integrate it, and I think it's a lot of fun. Basically, I decided that I wanted Emmett to be front and center singing against a green screen, and I wanted the green screen effect to then transition into a like behind the scenes making of the music video within the music video sort of moment. And I think I was really effective at this. Like, I think I pulled it off quite well. The way that I did this is I set it up so that Emmett was singing against a green paper backdrop, which I had behind him. He was standing on a plate that I'd taped down. Everything was locked down. I went through the amount of frames that I knew I needed of him singing in front of the green screen, quote unquote, that I was going to cut out and put in front of the B-roll footage. And then, once I had proceeded far enough, I decided, okay, now it's time to put in all the LEGO Studios figures. So I gingerly applied them. I put in the fake green screen that like is made out of Lego behind him. I put in all the Studios figures. I put Axel at the makeup stand there. That's kind of a fun little detail. And then just proceeded to continue to animate the rest of the scene. And I think it turned out wonderfully. My partner actually helped me with the green screen effect because she had edited green screen effects in DaVinci Resolve before, so she kind of talked me through that. She showed me ways to clean it up to make it look a little bit like less like a green screen, but I didn't listen to her on those parts because I kind of wanted it to look like a fake green screen effect when he first pops up in front of the B-roll footage. I want you to think, oh, that's a bad green screen effect, because then boom, it goes into, oh yeah, it is a green screen. It's literally a Lego green screen, you know? And I kind of wanted that continuity between the two ideas. So now we move on to this shot of the bass player rocking out with this elaborate backdrop behind him. And I have to say, that backdrop that he's standing behind, that's probably the most amount of time I spent building a backdrop piece for the least amount of time it was used in the final product for this entire project. Yeah, I probably spent about an hour putting that thing together using a bunch of different Rock Raiders pieces or Rock Raiders adjacent pieces from my collection. I really, really like the different kind of textures I was able to capture there. There's some of those bricks with like the ridges in them, the octagonal pieces, those cylinders on the sides, the hazard stripes going up, with snot technique, and the interplay between like the tiled surfaces and the studded surfaces that the minifigure's standing on. Like, I really like it, and I just wasn't able to find a lot of places to use it. Part of the problem is that it's such a small backdrop that you have to be just so tight in on the character. It'd be really tough to come up with like any other shot with this backdrop than just the straight on shot that I use in the video here. So yeah, this is basically its one time to shine, and that's that. Like, here's a behind the scenes look at this photo shoot, and you can just tell instantly. Like, compare this with the last one we saw. The league's different. The amount of space you have to work with. This one was just so limiting, and I guess I could have expanded upon this backdrop, made it a little bit bigger on either side, but I'd already spent so much time on the what I had so far. I was like, I don't know if I can afford more time spent on this, so yeah, I just had to kind of cut my losses on it. It's still a cool piece. I haven't disassembled it. I'll probably keep it together, maybe use it as a figure stand or something like that, but yeah, I think it's kind of neat. I guess the last thing here is that I had to hide the fact that I didn't get enough frames of the bass player rocking out here, so some of the footage is reversed midway through. And what better way to hide this than throwing text up on the screen, right? Come on, yeah. So a little bit of, sleight of hand here, edit-wise, I suppose. and I tried to keep it as fluid as I could by adding in some false camera movement to the whole scene, and that goes from the forward footage to the reversed footage very fluidly. That typeface, by the way, is Serpentine, which has kind of become the de facto Plastic Plains font, but I thought it looked nice here too. After a pretty elaborate transition swirling effect, we get to what is also a pretty creative shot, I think. This is one that very meaningfully leans into reversed footage. So I started the shoot with all of the energy crystals and trans neon green elements surrounding Emmett already in place. That's the starting point for the shot. And then I animated them kind of moving, wiggling around, doing that sort of thing. And then through in-camera movement, I brought the camera down nice and low, brought him down, and as I was moving those things, I started removing some of the trans neon green elements behind him so that we get a nice kind of close thing, and then I reverse the footage from there so that it all grows back out again, and it's all kind of like one big motion. And I thought that was really neat. It looks fantastic in the video, in my opinion, and I didn't have to animate half of it. I got to reuse it in a way, and I think it worked really well. The last element I added was a digital camera shake effect, and that just kind of added to the intensity of the scene. You'll see it kind of used throughout the music video in certain places where I feel like just a static shot isn't conveying what I want it to convey. This next one's a pretty standard shot, just the guitarist singing into the microphone. All of this camera movement was done in post. The original shot is very static, but I wanted to have something to work with. I knew that the guitarist was singing in the song quite frequently, kind of, shouting things out in the background, and I would need to have some scenes of the guitarist doing this. So this is just one spot I chose to use it, but we will see elements of it appear later on as well. Sometimes everything just goes right for me when I'm animating. Like I don't plan things out 100% of the time. Sometimes I'm fine to wing it. I'll be like, okay, I know that I need to roughly cover about 54 shots, to 18 frames a second, whatever, and I will just start taking photos, and you just kind of feel it out. You're like, okay, and then roughly here in the song, the note would change, and then it'll change again or whatever. And this shot of Slugger singing along with Emmett, this was one in a million, because it's so perfectly captured. And unlike the previous shot of Emmett singing with the energy crystals and everything like that, I couldn't reverse the footage here because the camera is moving. And that camera movement is captured in camera, like false camera movement, like the scene is rotating is what I'm trying to say. And so I had to get this right. I had to be perfect. And apparently I just could do that. So yeah, what you're seeing is just the first and only take I did of this, and I nailed it. So from my perspective as the creator, I think this is actually the most impressive shot of the whole video. I know it doesn't look like it would be. It's a very simple animation, but the timing, I don't know. I was channeling something here. It's impeccable. So I'm the most impressed with myself with this shot here. I don't know how I managed to pull that off. And the energy of Slugger throwing his head up at the end there just catapults us into the next scene. I love this transition. It's probably one of my favorite in the whole video. And the following scene then is of the bass player and the drummer rocking out in front of the Chrome Crusher. And this is a scene that I actually shot in reverse. Basically, this is another instance of where I knew where I wanted the camera to end up, so why not start there and work your way backwards? I wanted the camera to zoom in on one of those conical lamps that are on the Chrome Crusher, because I knew the next scene was coming up and I wanted it to be like the inner wirings and whatnot of the Chrome Crusher. So that's where I wanted to end up. So I just basically started there and then just zoomed out and made everyone kind of move backwards, and eventually, kind of skirted the camera around the whole scene, and then went up top afterwards. With a flash, we transition into the inner workings of the Chrome Crusher, and we get to see all these wires and sparks and static effects. I think it's really cool. It's an awesome energy that's captured here. And of course, this is a giant Lego mock. So here's what it looks like when you zoom out. I felt like I was doing like greebling on like V'ger from Star Trek The Motion Picture or something like that when I was working on this, because it actually is quite big, but I'm trying to trick the audience into thinking it's small, right? Whereas I guess that'd be the opposite effect there, where you're working on something quite small and you're trying to trick the audience to make it big. I was just doing something in the reverse. So photographing this, moving across my photography rig, involved inching it along and counting either full stud or half stud movements on the base plate it was resting on. That's how I was able to track how far to move it each shot, each frame, right? And so I would just kind of look at the corner of the table. Is it resting on the stud? Okay, then move it half a stud. If it's, half a stud, then move it half a stud, right? So just kind of making little incremental movements there to keep the motion consistent the whole way through. In post-production, however, I discovered that I hadn't actually animated it long enough, nor had I constructed it long enough for the scene I needed it to cover. So I had to get creative, and the spark effects are kind of serving two purposes here. Those little sparks that keep flying up in the screen, little light points and things like that. They're there to kind of distract you as the audience, because I did have to splice in another take of this shot into the final product, and I was hoping that through all the different spark effects you wouldn't notice, and hopefully on your first watch through you didn't notice, and maybe now I'm kind of blowing your mind. You're like, oh, I see it now, right? Yeah, so if you watch for it, you'll definitely see it, but I hope I tricked you the first time. And here we get the back and forth shots of the night's on fire, that part of the video. I put both Emmett and the guitarist on risers, I suppose, like these little hinge risers. They're from the Sheriff's Lockup set, just the little yellow fingered hinges. And I would just animate them just ever so slightly, leaning in to the scene from opposite sides, different colored backdrops, that sort of thing. And then I had a photo of the knight standing in the middle there, and then the knight's on fire, and I thought that was kind of a funny pun to throw into the video there. Nothing more to say really. The fire effects were pretty easy to animate, just kind of twisting around, although I did have a fire facade placed very near the camera that was locked down and you couldn't see the base of it, and I would kind of rotate the flames on that, so that's why you're seeing some flame up in the foreground as well as the stuff that's in the background there. Next we come to the rock monsters rocking out, and this is a fun shot, obviously, but it's another one where I just kind of winged it, like I was like, I think 7 frames up, 7 frames down is probably right for the rock monsters, so that's what I went with. And it turns out it looks pretty good. 7 frames up, 7 frames down. So if you're ever animating a rock monster rocking out in one of your videos that's shot at 18 frames per second, well, now you know. Then we get this long and winding shot that kind of leads us through all the different band members and the Chrome Crusher in the background. This is a reuse of the set that I used earlier in the video with just the drummer and the bass player. Now I've swapped out the color in the background and kind of switched things around. So hopefully you didn't notice that it was just a redo of that scene. But yeah, that's kind of shot economy, right? So I would have shot the other one at the same time as this scene, and then you just kind of space them out a little bit in the video, hope nobody notices, and move on. Here's kind of a wider look at that whole setup. You can see just how immense it kind of is to do something like this. Like everything's like those two shots are shot on a 48 by 48 base plate that you're just kind of slowly rotating as you animate everything. Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty elaborate. But I'm happy with the result there. This next shot is probably one of the simplest out there. It's only 5 photos. One with nothing, one with 4, one with the 9, one with the 7, and one with the 0. If you've watched my channel before, you might recognize these brick-built numbers. They've appeared in other top 10 sort of videos, that sort of thing. And I didn't have them still. I actually took them apart after I photographed them years ago. So I used my old photos and I recreated them so I could put them in this video. Emmett popping up in the foreground here to deliver a little bit of right all right is actually... well, I mean, it's obviously based on the green screen footage that I did earlier, but it's not an exact reuse of any of those frames. I had actually trimmed some of it so that it would fit the scene earlier a little bit better. So there was some unused footage, and this shot contains some of that. And in this next shot, we're rocking out with the drummer, circling around the kit. There's all sorts of digital effects, you know, the motion blur, this or that, kind of going on to give it some energy. This shot was actually done very late into the project. It's probably one of the last few stop motion clips that I did for the video. And you can see at this point in time, well, obviously I'm frustrated with having to deal with animating the drummer, so that's neither here nor there. But you can actually see the cymbals and like the toms start to react to being hit, and that was a technique I didn't really like stumble upon early on, but as I continued to work with the drum kit more and more, I became more comfortable with it, and that was something that I found like, oh yeah, this actually looks like, you know, a real life drum kit if I have the cymbals react in the way that they would. So that was kind of a neat little touch here. That launches us into a make it up as I go along kind of scene. And yeah, so in this one we have the singer kind of walking out here singing to the camera. And then, you know, I was like, well, I could end it here, or I could just keep animating and do something, right? So I drove the Chrome Crusher through the field of view, and then in the meantime I swapped out the singer for the guitarist, and then, you know, threw the camera back into the rock wall again. And yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, well, I got what I needed. I needed that first little chunk, but maybe I can animate something to go over the next 3 seconds of the video, and maybe it'll look good. So, you know, I took a stab at it, and, you know, I kind of liked the way it turned out there, so I kept it. That backdrop, by the way, should look familiar because it's the same support station with the pair of silos on either side. So again, economy of setup. You're trying to use those scenes that you've constructed, and you get multiple scenes out of them, essentially, right? So this one would have been shot at the same time as the other one. Once I had the numbers, I decided, you know, let's get creative with them. Let's do some fun things. So this next one here has the numbers kind of zooming out. We see the Chrome Crusher driving in front, and then the camera repositions itself, kind of reframes it. I think it looks great, especially against the blue. It just, yeah, it really pops. As kind of a callback to the previous whip pan idea that we saw at the very start of the video, I wanted to have another thing here where we did some whip panning with the characters. First the guitarist, then the bassist, then a rock monster, and then the bassist running away. Again, this is another one you just kind of like feel it out. You're like, okay, it's roughly maybe 12 shots on each band member, and then that gives you about 6 frames to get from one to the next, so that everything is in time with itself, right? And fits within the 18 frames is what I mean. And yeah, you know, just kind of wing it. Turns out that, you know, it looks pretty good. I actually really like this one. Yeah. And, you know, somewhat impressively, there's no digital trickery involved here. I'm not adding any motion blur after the fact or anything like that. It's all captured in camera. Because I had been working on the how to build the super teleport video at some point in time during the production of this, I had reconstructed Rock Raiders HQ. I don't normally keep this set all put together because it's so big. It's just tough to store. So I'd rebuilt it for that video, and then I decided, well, frick, I've got this giant Rock Raiders HQ sitting around. Why don't I use it for this video? So I finally found a way to do that in this shot here. It's just a simple one of the singer kind of belting it out underneath the, I guess, conveyor belt system here in the Rock Raiders HQ. I had to build up a little bit of a rock background there, of course, and then I just kind of panned it to the side, had him singing, and I removed him once the pillar kind of blocked him from the shot. You don't really notice that in the video. I thought it was maybe neat, kind of a little cool effect, rather than just having him standing there the whole time. But it doesn't really matter. The scene transitions into the next one pretty fluidly. And speaking of the next one, I think this is probably one of the last B-roll shots that we'll see from the old Rock Raiders retrospective days. This is the box reveal. I used to do that at the start of each episode when I was showing off the set. And it's just got such nice movement and whatnot. And it shows the box art. I wanted to get the box art in the video somewhere too. So I just kind of included it here. Yeah, now we get really creative with the numbers. So Emmett's singing on one side of the 4970 and then jumps through the 0 to sing through the other side of it. Honestly, I think this shot just looks more complicated than it actually was. Basically, I had Emmett singing on the one side, and then as soon as the camera started moving and that 4 was blocking the view of Emmett, I put him up on a little bit of a riser and angled it through. I think it was on a ratchet hinge. And then I zoomed the camera in on him and he continued singing on the other side. I think it looks great. It turned out really well. I really like how reflective the Lego bricks are, right? So you can see the reflections of the animation. That just gives them so much more life. And here's another scene where I'm just kind of, making it up as I go along. I wanted the guitarist and the bassist to be headbanging together, kind of rocking out. I didn't know how long, how many, frames each should be, so I just kind of, eyeballed it and went from there. I think it looks pretty good in the final result. And this scene launches us into some of the last remaining B-roll. I forgot about this, actually. Yeah, the Axel showing up and blasting the rock monster apart. That was kind of used to stitch a couple of scenes together here, because you blast the rock monster apart and then you get the drummer on Slugzilla, and this was a cool scene as well too. So it's just like boom, boom, boom. They lead into each other. The green energy blast really sets up this beautiful scene. And finally, we get this, what I think is like the last real jaw-dropping scene of the video. And it's the guitarist rocking out on a checkerboard platform with amps all around him and spinning the whole time. The camera's just like spinning around the scene, tracking him as he's moving. I think it looks fantastic. And I set it up the same way I did with the Chrome Crusher earlier, where the whole thing is on a ratcheting facade that rotates, right? The camera's not actually moving, but you're trying to trick the audience into believing the camera's moving. Funny enough, I actually animated this one far longer than I actually needed. I think I animated like close to 12 or like 15 seconds of footage. I don't need that much, but I was doing it while I was on a phone call with my partner while she was away, and we were just chatting the whole time, and I was just kind of mindlessly animating as I went about doing that. And then at the end of the call, I hung up and stopped animating, and then kind of looked back and was like, oh wait, I was just kind of like doing this for over an hour. That probably produced way too much footage. So yeah, here you're seeing everything I animated. And from this point on, I think we're into the end of the video. This, to me, feels like the coda of the song. Let's bring it on home. So to that end, I wanted to do another really quick whip pan around the Chrome Crusher to show off all of its parts again, and sneak in another little slug. This shot in particular is just so clean. It came off so well. I'm really happy with it. This one is actually a video clip. This is a return to video. We haven't seen a video clip in the music video for quite a while. But yeah, I wanted to have like Chrome Crusher, Chrome Crusher, Chrome Crusher. Like that phrase is repeated so often in the video. It took me way too long to come up with the idea of like, oh, I own a bunch of these Chrome Crushers. Why don't I just put 3 of them in a row and just Chrome Crusher, Chrome Crusher, Chrome Crusher? I thought that was kind of a neat way to do that and kind of pay homage to the lyrics there. So I put 3 different Chrome Crushers all sitting next to each other. The Chrome Crusher's really big though, so I had a hard time actually getting them in frame without seeing the edges of the backdrop. So yeah, I had to keep the camera pretty tight on this one. Just like I did with Emmett's green screen effect earlier that used some unused footage from that shot, I did the same thing here with the guitarist. You recognize the scene probably if you're paying attention earlier, and there was just some unused stuff that got trimmed, and so I made sure to include that unused stuff in this shot so we get something a little bit new. It looks like we're returning back to that scene to see the guitarist again, and he's doing something different. Like I said earlier, this whole section really feels like the coda to me, so I wanted to do some more callbacks. Here's another callback that's the Rock Raiders engine, or the Chrome Crusher engine, I should say, and it's pumping away and the camera's shaking violently as it's doing this. It's not the same shot as before, obviously, right? The earlier shot was rotating around the engine, kind of, moving the camera quite a bit. This one, it's locked down except it's shaking, right? So you get that kind of unstable sort of thing, and it really emphasizes what's going on with like the floor tom kind of rolls that you're hearing. I love it. Another shot, another callback. Here's the rock monster rocking out, and the guitarist is now standing on its back with the microphone stand set up there as well too. So I thought this was a kind of a little fun shot to include in the video. Nothing too complicated. Again, it was 7 frames up, 7 frames down, but even though for you folks like watching the video, this happened only moments apart from each other, for me this happened like months apart. So I had to go back and review my original footage from that original rock monster rocking out scene to see how many frames was it, because I didn't write it down or anything, right? So I went back and just kind of inspected it, counted out the frames. I was like, okay, it was about 7, right? So then I used that technique here to accomplish this shot. Here we get a nice scene of Emmett singing on top of the Chrome Crusher. I hadn't really done much of that yet, and I wanted to include something like that in the video. I replaced the Rock Raiders logo 2x2 tile with a center jumper tile there, which is why he's connected onto the top there. That's how he's positioned, and it allows him to rotate slightly as well too, so I wanted that effect. The Chrome Crusher itself is mounted on these big blocks I'd built up, and that kept it from moving about, so I could very securely fasten it to the ground and animate around. Now the other thing I did, and it didn't really pay off because you can't even really see the wheels in this shot, but what I did with the wheels is I actually took them out of their locking just slightly, like I pulled them out slightly so that the Technic pins were actually pinching them in place so they couldn't rotate freely, and that's a way to prevent your wheels from rolling about accidentally if you bump them, right? So just pop them out just a little bit there. It ended up being unnecessary, but I thought that was a pretty smart technique. This next shot with the guitarist it's just one that writes itself, right? Like, I was looking at my shot list and I was like, okay, I got so many phrases of Chrome Crusher, Chrome Crusher, Chrome Crusher, and 4970 right, all right. How do I fill these scenes? How do I make them, still have like some character to each one? And this one was easy. It was like, okay, well, I've got these big brick built numbers. I've got a Lego version of the guitarist. Let's just put them together. And I think it's a cool shot. It looks great. I think this next one looks like it's a video clip, but this is stop motion animated as well too. This is all the Chrome Crushers rolling past. So there's 4 Chrome Crushers that go by one after the other. In reality, there's just the 3 that I had from the other shot, and I just reused one of them. But each time the Chrome Crushers roll by, there's a different band member driving them. So all 4 band members drive a Chrome Crusher past the screen. I thought that was kind of cool. The way that I timed this out to know like how far to move each Chrome Crusher was that I was looking at the wheels, and whenever the ridges were pointed upwards, that's when I would take the shot, right? So the ridges would point up, I'd move it until the next ridge pointed up, and then I'd take the shot, move it until the next ridge, and so on. Once I'd done that, I took all the photos I had and actually accelerated the footage so that I could get all 4 Chrome Crushers past the camera in time, and that's what you see in the final video. This is a really cool shot of the guitarist up on top of the laser as it spins around. It's kind of the inverse of having the singer hanging off of the laser, because the camera's no longer mounted, theoretically in air quotes, to the laser. It's stationary and the laser's the thing that's spinning. And I wanted to kind of do that, just to kind of, take that idea and turn it on its head. So that the guitarist is now kind of like still rocking out, but he's like standing on this thing that's like rotating underneath him. So he's like stepping and stumbling around and doing all this sort of stuff. So that was pretty cool. I'm really happy with how it looks and how it turned out in the video. In order to get this shot, and you might notice the turntable underneath the laser is now the ratcheting type, because I need those ratchets there to keep track of how far the laser has moved. If you use the freestanding type, you're really, you're just on a hope and a prayer that you're getting it correct. So yeah, the ratcheting hinge turntables, those are really useful for things like this. This shot actually is an instance of art through adversity though, because for as well as I set it up and for as well as I executed it, something did go wrong. One of the photos in the sequence became somewhat corrupted, it seems, like corrupted in the camera, and it's just slightly distorted and kind of out of sync or whatever. Now, I could have just cut that frame, and I'm not sure anyone would have noticed. The laser might have jumped a little bit forward, right? Because you'd be missing a frame of its movement, so maybe that would have been a tell. But honestly, I didn't even attempt that. I didn't even try it, because I kind of saw it as a moment of, oh, this is like inspiration. This is cool. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a digital distortion effect introduce the scene, so that when you see this digital distortion later on, you're going to assume it's just part of the effect. Hopefully you assumed it was just part of the effect, like the intensity of the music and everything was making the video actually glitch out and distort. So that's what I was trying to do with that, and it all just came about because of an accident, I suppose. And now we come to one of my favorite parts of the video, which was just taking the Chrome Crusher outside and filming it against different backdrops. I knew I wanted the video to end like this. I'd actually had this shot lined up months in advance, and I was just super thrilled to be able to just put the Chrome Crusher outside in the dirt and whatnot and just whip the camera past it. Yeah, it was a fun day, yeah. Obviously, I added a bunch of VHS filter effects and things like that to kind of distort it, to make it look all cool and mean. But yeah, it was a very simple shoot to do. Similarly simple, but much more time-consuming, was the individual shots of all the band members at the end of the video here. There's 8 different instrumental stings. They go to different chords each time, and as luck would have it, you got 4 band members. 4 times 2 is 8, so everyone shows up twice. These were the last props I had to build for the video, the checkerboard stands that they are standing on there. I just constructed them using, tiles of different colors, and then I built up the drum riser from earlier in the video. I just added some more bricks underneath it so that it sat higher, so you wouldn't see any of the plate beneath it kind of holding it down. I spoke about the reflectiveness of Lego earlier in the video, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. So in this shot, I actually had to cover up some of the reflectiveness of the Lego because I didn't want the studs of the base plate reflecting up onto the black bricks of the riser. So I ended up using these tiles. I just kind of roughly placed them down, kind of blocking the reflections there. It was super effective. It worked perfectly. It really reminded me of Star Trek: The Next Generation, the old TV show, where if there were setting up a shot on the bridge or whatever, and the stage lights were reflecting off the LCAR's computer displays in the back, they would just put black construction paper, poster paper, over top of those sections. And now in the HD remasters, you can really see it, but back then, pan and scan, you couldn't tell. So yeah, it reminded me a lot of that. And then we get to the final stop motion animated shot of the video, which is the band backlit to mirror the way that they were introduced at the start of the video. I wanted it to be basically the same sort of shot for the end of the video here. And yeah, there's a couple of quick hits, bam, bam, right? And then the guitarist takes us into the closing. The final shot of the video itself is the reversed footage of the wall coming back together and the TV appearing back up on its stand and changing out the commercial for the credits. And that to me was like the obvious thing to do for the end of the video. I had this in place since I shot that original scene all the way back at the start. So yeah, I knew like instantly, I'm like, oh, okay, I just reversed the footage and put that at the end. That's gonna look awesome. And yeah, I think it does. Now, MK Ultras had actually recorded another version of Chrome Crusher, which is what you hear over these final credits at the end of the video. It's kind of like a lo-fi sort of cover of the song. It's perfect. It's the perfect end credit theme here, and it's a great version of the song in and of itself. Like the song is just awesome. It's catchy, and I think both versions deserve your attention. And that's how to make a Lego stop motion music video. Thanks so much for watching this. It ended up being a lot longer than I expected it to be, but I'm happy that I got to go through and kind of catalog and chronicle all these different techniques and shots that I was able to create for this project. It was a lot of work, as you can probably tell, but it was also a lot of fun at the same time. Once again, thank you to Emmett and MK Ultras for funding this project, for seeking me out as an artist, and for being so easy to work with. I had a great time. If you weren't already aware of this really awesome punk rock band, well, now you are. So I think you should go check out their music if you enjoyed this. Don't expect another stop motion music video from me in the future. For as much fun as I had on this, like I said, it was a ton of work, and I'm really gonna keep that in mind if if I'm ever gonna do something like this again. So just because you're watching this right now and you're thinking, oh, I'm in a rock band too, I should email Slugger and get him to make a music video for my band. Yeah, hold your horses. It'll be at least another year before I even consider taking on a project of this scale again. So yeah, I need some time to, just relax after this, because there was a lot of man hours that went into this. I shudder to think what the hourly rate would end up being, but it was just a perfect marriage of the two things, right? The Rock Raiders theme, the Rock Raiders song, the style of the song, and the concept for the music video. It just all came together, and I'm really proud of the result. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.